Welcome back to Florida Man in Poland. If we haven't met, my name is John. I am a Florida man, but I've been living here in Poland for a long time. And that means I've had plenty of opportunities to get to know something about Polish food, Polish cuisine. And I thought it would be a good idea to learn something more about the Polish food culture here on the channel. And that's why I'm really, really happy to connect with today's guest. She is the creative and culinary force behind Polish Foodies, polishfoodies.com, the author of 10 cookbooks based on Polish dishes, and generally an amazing source of information and inspiration for anyone who wants to learn more about Polish cuisine. You can learn all about her at polishfoodies.com. Her name is Karolina, and she's here to talk about Polish foodies and more. So first of all, Karolina, thanks so much for taking the time to join me here on Florida Man in Poland.
Hi, John. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay, really looking forward to this. And I have a long list of questions here, Karolina. So I'm going to introduce something. This is the first time I've done this here on my channel. And we only have so much time. So I'm going to introduce a new feature here on my channel called Rapid Fire. Okay, I'm going to fire lots of questions at you. And I need short or short-ish answers for each one. Okay, so
Okay.
just bear this in mind. Shortest answers so we can cover a lot of ground quickly. Okay, so Karolina, are you ready for rapid fire?
I think I am.
You think you are? Okay, let's do it. You have to choose one. You have to choose one. One soup for the rest of your life. Żurek, barszcz czerwony, or rosół.
Żurek. I don't really like rosół, and barszcz czerwony is I'm always dirty when I eat it.
You're always dirty when you. How are you eating your soup,
because
Karolina?
I'm wearing white clothes and it's all over my clothes usually, so
Okay.
that's practical.
Okay, I have questions, but I'm going to leave those for later because I don't know. I'll just keep going. Okay, 50-50 question here, Karolina. If someone fries their pierogi without boiling them first, are they a genius or a criminal?
Criminal. I've never tried it. It doesn't seem right for me.
So the boiling is an absolute must.
Yeah, in Poland, yeah.
Is there an ingredient, a secret ingredient that you sneak into your recipes sometimes that would shock a Polish grandmother?
Hmm, Tofu, yeah. Sometimes I use it as replacement for farmer's cheese that is not always available abroad. So yeah.
Next question. Okay, it's late. You're tired. You need some nice Polish comfort food in less than 10 minutes. What do you make?
Kanapka, like a classic sandwich, open face sandwich with. In Poland, bread is so delicious that you can spread it with butter and put some cheese and tomato and salt, and that's it.
Okay, Karolina, this question is gonna make you some friends and make you some enemies. Okay, so I'm just warning you now. Okay, so get ready. Which brand of mayonnaise is the only acceptable choice?
Kielecki, the only one. Mayonnaise Kielecki.
Okay, so if you're watching this and you don't know, the mayonnaise wars in Poland are a real thing. This is a very serious thing. I'll explain that in a different video sometime. And Karolina just took a side. She picked a side, which is good, but the other
Yeah.
side has questions for
100%
her.
I can
Absolutely.
fight for it because I think it's so much better.
Give us an example of a Polish food that terrifies people from outside of the country when they hear about what's in it and what it is, but you think they should try it anyway.
Czernina, duck blood soup. Oh, that explains it all, that this is the dark soup, sweet and sour, made of blood of duck. Have you ever tried it or no?
I've never tried it. I'm never going to try it ever. All due respect to you, Karolina, I don't care what you say. I'm never trying blood soup. So let's just move on. Oh, and by the way, a little later in our conversation, I'm going to play some clips from a video that I made when I'm kind of criticizing some Polish foods to get your
Okay.
reaction to this. And so blood soup is a good reminder that some things are just not acceptable in Polish cuisine, but we'll come back to that later. Last question. And again, you have to pick a side here. Vigilia, which is Christmas Eve dinner. Okay, it's traditional to have carp. Vigilia, right? What's your position on carp? An important Polish tradition that we must keep, or please, can we try something different?
Please, can we try something else? I don't like carp. No.
Okay, you and I are on the same team. I'm very, very glad to hear that, Karolina. Excellent. I'm all for I'm all for pizza, spaghetti, barbecue, anything. Carp, I just don't get it. But Yeah, I think you and I are in the minority probably. I think most people will defend carp. Wouldn't you
I think
say?
it depends on the generation. So my parents, they are 100% for carp, and my generation, not really. So I think this tradition is slowly dying.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's always been a strange thing for me that on Vigilia, on Christmas Eve dinner, that millions, maybe tens of millions of people in this country will pretend that they like carp. And when I ask them, "You don't really like this," they say, "No, I like it." And then I ask them another question. I say, "Well, if you like it so much, when was the last time you ate carp that was not on Christmas Eve?" And the answer is always something like this. Because nobody can answer that question. So if you like it so much, when did you eat it, voluntarily when it wasn't Christmas Eve? But
Yeah.
again, we'll leave that conversation for another day. So anyway, congratulations, Karolina. You have successfully completed
Thank
rapid
you.
fire. So well done, well done, well done. Okay, let's talk about PolishFoodies.com. You started this about 6 years ago, I think, something
Seven
like that,
years ago,
approximately
yeah.
6 years, 7 years ago. 10 cookbooks later, huge Facebook groups, huge success on social media. Tell us something about the origins of Polish Foodies and the journey that led to what it is today.
Been traveling the world with my future husband for many years, and I didn't really love Poland as much as I do right now. So I wanted to live in my early 20s. So we just traveled the world, and during this travel, I realized that Poland is an amazing country. And when I got pregnant, we decided to settle in Poland, but it was a conscious decision, not because my husband is also Polish. So, if we are both Polish, then living in Poland is like normal. But for us, it was a decision to live here. And when we were traveling, I've been running a travel blog, and I feel this urge to share like my adventures, my recipes, my life with the world. And I've been always doing it because when I was even a kid, I've been writing a journal every day. So this is like for me, like sharing is normal. So when the internet started, I started a blog right away. So that's why Polish Foodies. I started because I've been staying at home with my kids, and basically what I was doing was cooking Polish food. So, and people, my followers, previous followers from the travel blog, they were asking about the recipes, about Poland. So it was very natural for me.
You mentioned a couple of things there that I learned about you. There's a video on the YouTube channel. I think it's 10 things that fans of Polish Foodies probably didn't know. And one
Hmm.
of them is like you just mentioned, is that when you were younger, it was all about I'm going to leave, I'm going to go someplace else, but then that changed over time. And since you mentioned that, I'm going to mention something here I was going to say for later, but since you mentioned it, there's another thing you mentioned in that video that most people don't know about you. And again, I'm not betraying a secret here because you already told the world that you are actually a vegetarian. You're a vegetarian. And a
Yes.
lot of people might find this surprising because, for a lot of people, when they think about Polish cuisine, Polish food, they don't think about vegetarian options and, Polish food being vegetarian friendly. So what would you say to those people who don't associate vegetarianism with Polish cuisine? Are there more opportunities than they think to enjoy Polish food as a vegetarian?
Of course, I think it's one of the biggest misconceptions about Polish food that it's only based on meat. Because in the past, people didn't have money for meat. So the peasant food, the food that the majority of Polish people were eating, was not only vegetarian, but many times it was vegan, 100%, because meat was expensive. It was only once a year, 2 times a year, and that's it. So that's why, for example, pierogi ruskie, the basic recipe is 100% vegan because we made the dough from flour, water, salt. And when you put the filling, right now we put farmer's cheese, but when people were very poor, all they put inside was potatoes and fried onions. So it's 100% vegan. I think it's very, very easy to be vegetarian and vegan in Poland. However, right now I'm not vegetarian anymore. Because I started to work out. I'm going to the gym like 3-4 times a week, heavy lifting, and my body just needs meat. I couldn't like fill my body with enough protein with cheese or dairy. For me, I have to eat meat right now because my body needs it.
So you've experienced Polish cuisine from both sides, the vegetarian
Yeah.
angle and the, let's say, the conventional angle. Yeah, I'm one of those people, when I think about Polish cuisine, the first thing that comes to my mind is a fried piece of meat and some form of potatoes. For me, it's meat is central to
Hmm.
Polish cuisine. But as you say, there's another way to look at it. That for many, many, many years, meat was on the edge of Polish cuisine and not at the center like it is today. Yeah, that's true. Let me ask you about some of the changes you've seen in the Polish food culture, not just Polish cuisine, but all the different things that are available now in the supermarkets that everybody has access to. Because even in the time that I've been here, I've noticed a huge change, and a lot of those changes are kind of the result of how should I say, like a tension, a conflict between traditional Polish cooking and the demands of modern life, convenience, and things like that. And that's where a lot of the changes have taken place. I'm not saying all those changes are good for us as a society. I'm not saying that that they're healthy, but they are a fact of life. How have you seen Polish cuisine change over the last 20, 25, 30 years?
Of course, it is changing because we entered European Union, so we have like access to more types of food, and I think it's good because the cuisine should always adapt to like changes. It shouldn't be like traditional 100% because this is the only way to evolve, to like adapt, to add new ingredients. So yes, of course, there are so many new ingredients that you can buy. However, what I love about Poland is that I think Polish people are very aware about the quality of the food. So it's not easy to put some, chemicals into food because I think we all read labels, or many, many people in Poland read labels on the like ingredients. That's why the quality of food, the ingredients is better. And we have this, that we have this custom to buy fresh veggies and fruits on the farmers markets. So the quality in Poland is something very important. And I absolutely love it because I think that there was a trend to like Americanized food, or to put some, like this fast foods, Western, like easy solutions. And I don't think it's really adapted in Poland. We still cook homemade food. We didn't switch to fast meals that we put into microwaves. So I love it about Poland. That's my opinion at least. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not like for all Polish people, but me, my family, my friends, we really take care of the quality of the food that we eat.
I'm going to agree and disagree with you a little bit on different points, Carolina. Okay, so let me tell you where I stand, and you tell me what you think. Okay, on the agree part, you are right that people here still make it a point to do their shopping, sometimes almost daily, whether it's for bread or for fruit and vegetables, going to local markets. I think people are, as you say, much more conscious and concerned about where the food comes from and getting the freshest food they can get. I think you're right about that. I'm going to disagree with you when you say that you call it Americanization. That's a different topic. But um, I'm going to say all the changes that I've seen over the last even 5 years, and the changes that are accelerating, and the changes that I think will take place in the future, are about um, convenience. First of all, look at the frozen options. I remember 20 years ago, there was almost nothing. If you wanted to get a frozen bag of something and heat it up in a frying pan or a microwave, now they're everywhere. And that's the trend. There are whole sections of the supermarket that are devoted to convenience. And that, by definition, means frozen things or additives and maybe chemicals that we don't like to eat, but people do. And that's where the growth is, really. And I also disagree with you a little bit about traditional Polish cooking in the sense that, think about, like, when you were a kid, and maybe, your mother and, other people of that generation, people cooked like real meals every day. And that's becoming less and less common, I think, as people have less time, really. Maybe on the weekends, possibly. But I think people cook home cooked meals less often, and they spend less time doing it than in the past. Can we agree on that, or no?
No, maybe that the difference is in the place that we are living. So I live in a small town, and I don't know anyone who goes to restaurant like daily, or even twice a week, or even
Hmm. Hmm.
3 times a week. No, maybe you go once a month. That's the standard for me, my family, friends. You live in Krakow, right? So maybe this is a big city. That's the difference.
Yeah,
You have more
I'm in the big
choices.
city, and yeah, you make a fair point that lifestyles are, yeah, very different in small towns and in big cities. And in the big cities, which are coming to dominate Poland, I mean, it's a different conversation. But the trend is away from the small towns and to the big cities. And I'm not defending it. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it's healthier. I'm not saying it's a positive thing, but it's reality. And this is what people are doing now. And I think maybe typical life, yeah, in small towns when it comes to food is certainly different. And you're right about that. But I would say the future is frozen. Unfortunately, the future is a frozen section in the supermarket. Again, not
But
saying
you
it's
know
good
that
because it isn't. Yeah.
frozen food is actually sometimes better than fresh food. So, for example, vegetables, they took in the factories, they take the best quality of vegetables that they freeze. So, for example, spinach is sometimes like better frozen than fresh in this plastic bag. It has more nutritions inside. So, frozen food is quite good. We also have this freezing and pasteurizing food tradition in Poland, that we have. So, yeah.
Let me ask you about the content that people can find on your Facebook page, social media, YouTube, and elsewhere. First of all, it seems to me that creating content that's based around food is not easy in terms of the production, filming different angles and the process and the editing. And do you think filming instructions or cooking guide is quite it seems like it can be quite a complicated challenge?
Mm, I don't think it's challenging because I have different types of content. I have recipes, video recipes, but I also have lots of videos about Poland in general, Polish culture, traditions. So when I make a video about traditions, then I have to speak to the camera. So I have to look good. I need to take care of the sound and everything. And for the cooking videos, you only see hands. So you can do it, in my pajamas or don't look good. And after that, I simply record voiceover. So it's also like has its advantages to create food content.
I noticed that for some dishes, you have like a very detailed, 15, 20-minute deep dive. And for other dishes, it's a quick and easy, here are the basics, here's what you need to do. How do you decide which dishes, which recipes get the 20-minute treatment and which get the short and sweet treatment?
How I feel like I don't have any internal guidelines or anything. It's simply when I create content, I simply do it mostly for my family when I'm cooking, and sometimes I feel like recording and sometimes don't. So in a perfect world, I would love to have video recipes, a short format and long format for all the Polish recipes, but it takes so much time. Maybe in the
Takes a
future.
lot of time. Takes a lot of
Yeah.
time for sure, for sure. Looking at the comments that you get on YouTube and Facebook and elsewhere, it's clear that you've connected with lots of people from all around the world. I mean, it's not just a Polish thing. Lots of people are interested in this, and a lot of those people have Polish backgrounds. Maybe they're in America or Canada or someplace else. It seems like a way for them to kind of um, reconnect, maybe in a way, through food with their
Yes.
heritage. Has that been your experience? I mean, have you heard from these people who kind of told you that this is kind of like a kind of a bridge to their family history?
Yes, I get many, many, many messages like that. Mm, like 70 or 80% of people that follow Polish foodies are from the US, and most of them are of Polish heritage, but they don't speak Polish. So it's very interesting that they had like Polish mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, but they never learned Polish. They have some core memories deep down that they have no idea that exist. But when they follow me, they see a video or a food or they hear a word or a song, then they have like this flashback from a childhood. So they didn't even know how to Google the things that they are looking for. But when they see it, then they remind themselves about their childhood. And usually these are very sweet memories of like when they feel loved, when they feel like connected to their heritage, their family. So I think I love what I'm doing because it's so beautiful, because it's what make the world a better place and what makes people feel better.
Okay, Karolina, let's go back to our conversation earlier when you mentioned blood soup and go back to this topic for a moment because I want to play you a couple of clips from a video that I made a few months ago. I think I called it 4 Polish foods that should be illegal. I'm joking, kind of, sort of, but I picked 4 foods that, for me, I find kind of unacceptable, to be honest. And I want to play a couple of clips here and get your feedback. Okay, so let's watch. Take some mental notes, and when we're done, you tell me what you think. If I make any good points or if I'm completely crazy. Okay. Number 4 on my list is flaky, cow's stomach. Now, we call this tripe in English, or as I call it, totally unacceptable. I think flaky is mentioned in the Geneva Convention. It's a cow's stomach, and there are people who think it's okay to eat this. Look at this. It looks like something that should be on the shelf in the laboratory of a mad scientist, but this is on the shelves of supermarkets all over the country. Or how about this? Looks like a film that CIA agents would use to make prisoners talk when they're trying to get information out of them. I would tell you anything to get you to just make it stop. Flaky smells like a wet dog covered in rotten milk, and the texture is like chewing on a rubber band that hates you. Tell me, who first looked at a cow's stomach and said, you know what, I wonder what that tastes like? Actually, Good no, question. don't tell me. I Good never question. want to think about this again. No. All right, Karolina, I've made my position on flaky pretty clear. What's the defense of flaky?
I think flaky are great because when you kill an animal, it's great to use every part of an animal because it already sacrificed themselves.
Every part, really? I don't know.
Yes.
The stomach.
Yeah. Maybe you haven't tried good flaky because you really can make them perfect. So spicy. I like flaky spicy.
Respectfully, Karolina, respectfully, I'm not sure if there is a good flaky. Maybe it's because if I didn't know what it was, maybe if the taste could distract me, maybe that's the problem. I know what it is. I can't forget that. I'm sorry. So you are on Team Flaky? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. In Polish, they say każdy ma swoje. It means like, to each his own. To each his own. And this is a case of każdy ma swoje. Okay, I'm going to play you one other clip about another food that I think should be illegal. This was number 1 on my list. Okay, so this is the food that I think is a crime against humanity. But Karolina, you tell me what you think, okay? Down to the very center of hell, where the number 1 food on my list was created. I'm talking, of course, about galaretka. It's usually translated into English as savory meat jello, and I don't know if any more disgusting words have ever been spoken. Now, there are a couple of different kinds of galaretka in Poland, including the sweet dessert kind that normal people eat, but I'm talking about a type of galaretka that's known as zimne nóżki, which translates as cold feet. Now, at this point in my list, you probably expect me to tell you that galaretka actually contains cold feet, which would not surprise me at all. But I'm happy to report that no, galaretka does not contain cold feet, as far as I know. It does often, however, contain pig's feet, or it can be shredded chicken or bits of ham. And if that's not gross enough, you'll often find colorful vegetables like peas and carrots suspended inside, floating in the gelatin. So you can see the ingredients trapped inside, looking terrified. Is that a piece of chicken? Is that a pig's knuckle? A cry for help? Who knows? Look at this image that I used in the thumbnail for this video. Look at this carefully and tell me that's not the alien trapped inside of galaretka. And remember that gelatin itself is made from collagen, which is found in bone, skin, and tendons. You're welcome. Galaretka is a staple at weddings in Poland, where you would think it would be used to keep away evil spirits or something. But no, people eat it on purpose. They say that the secret is to drown it in vinegar. And think about that. What does it say about something when it tastes better when you drown it in vinegar? I think that's a fair question, Karolina. What does it say about something when it tastes better when you drown it in vinegar?
Yeah, I don't like galaretka. I really don't like it, and I don't understand the phenomenon of this. I also have a funny story about it because it was probably my son's baptism party, and my mom helped me organize the menu for the party, and she said that galaretka is a must, and I said nobody eats it. We cannot, and she said no. You see, we need to have it because everybody will eat it, and she was right. I didn't eat it. However, like everything was gone. So people in Poland really enjoy jellied pig's feet.
They do. They do. And for me, the appearance alone is enough to make me run out the door screaming. The taste, I don't want to talk about the taste even, but you're right. At certain events like weddings, any kind of big get together, baptism, whatever, people will expect it and they will eat it. And I don't know. I just don't know. Okay. So just to summarize, flaky is okay with you, but galaretka, we agree that it's a crime. Yeah. Okay. All right, fair enough. And by the way, for anybody watching, this is all in good fun. If you want to make a video about 4 American foods that should be illegal, go ahead, no problem. I get it. It's your turn. Fair is
What is
fair.
number
Okay,
2 and 3
absolutely no
for you
problem.
in this video?
Number 3 was pashtet, which
Really?
is really, yes.
I
It's like
like
a
it.
meat brick. I'll put a link. By the way, I'll put a link to that video here somewhere so people can watch it. Number 3 is pashtet, which is it's like French pâté, kind of, sort of, but like denser and
Mhm.
just more evil. And the second one was kashanka, which is blood
Okay.
sausage. No, you mentioned blood soup earlier, which I never want to think about again. Number 2 on my list was blood sausage. There's too much blood here, Carol. What's with all the blood? Why is there so much blood in Polish cuisine? What's going on here?
Because you use every part of animal, I think that's the reason. The poverty,
You
the
know what?
people were like starving,
I,
and that's
I
it.
I get you, and I think in that video I mentioned the whole idea behind peasant food, which, as you say, was about using everything that can be used. And at that time, those people did the best they could, and I sympathize with them. They had to eat things that I would not choose to eat. But Karolina, it's 2026. Come on, do we have to eat the blood? Do we have to eat the stomach? Do we have to eat the? Come on, I mean, no. Grab some frozen food from Biedronka like a normal person, and leave the kashanka at home. Right? That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Anyway, okay, let's go back to normal normal Polish cuisine here. I meant to ask you earlier. The whole world knows about pierogi. It's the first thing that comes to mind when people think about Polish cuisine. I've always thought that's kind of weird because there are so many. There are better things that should be number one rather than pierogi. Personally, I don't think pierogi are a big deal. They're fine. I like them, but for me, and again, you tell me what you think. They exist in like a narrow range. They cannot be terrible and they cannot be, oh my god, amazing. They're kind of in that comfortable middle range. That's how I feel about pierogi. But there are other things, and this is my question for you, that should be more famous, that should be more well known from Polish cuisine. Like what, in your opinion?
Polish bread, I think it's number 1. It should be famous all over the world because I think it's the best. We have so many types of bread and it's so delicious. So for me, number 1 is bread. Number 2 is probably kiełbasa because also the quality of our sausage is really high and we have so many options. You have like the very thin kiełbasa sausage, the big one, smoked, non-smoked. So kiełbasa is also so good. Gołąbki, they are also stuffed cabbage rolls. For example, in my family doesn't really like pierogi, which is like the irony for me because I like share Polish food all the time and pierogi is number 1 Polish food, as you said, for many people. And I don't do it often because my family just doesn't really like pierogi. But gołąbki, yes, they love it. So that would probably my top 3. Also maybe farmer's cheese and like cheese spreads. For example, farmer's cheese with chives and radish with sour cream that you put on the bread. I love it.
When people ask me what to try, I always recommend something that I think should be much more well known, which is amazing. I eat this every chance I get. In Polish, it's called placki po węgiersku, which
Mm.
translates as like Hungarian pancakes, which is funny because
Mhm.
it's neither Hungarian nor is it pancakes, but that's what we call it.
Yeah.
It's like a potato hash brown with like a goulash meat. I guess that's the
Mhm.
Hungarian connection. The
Yeah.
goulash meat sauce. That's fantastic. I could eat that 3 times a day. Of course, I would be even fatter than I am if
I
I did
think
that, but
it's
I could.
like a male food. All the men that I know love it,
It
and
is a
women
man
not
food. That's a
really.
good point. Yeah, yeah. It's a man food for sure.
For me, it's
It's
a little
very,
bit too
yeah.
heavy. Like I usually cannot eat the full portion, but my husband love it. So, and you love it. You are also man, so it makes sense that it's
Yeah.
more for like a man.
You know what? I never thought about that. I never heard a woman say, "I really want some placki po węgiersko." It just doesn't happen. But you give it to a guy, he will never refuse it. That's absolutely
Yeah.
true. Absolutely true. So let's go back to Polish Foodies for a moment. What's the status of your activity there? What can we look forward to? What's next for Polish Foodies?
Polish Foodies Club, which is like my platform with my recipes, video recipes, courses. And I want to expand everything that I'm doing there because, for example, I have pierogi course. We were talking about pierogi. So it is very long and you have like all the tips for making pierogi, what can go wrong, how you can store them, how you can pinch them to make them beautiful. And I want to make a course like that in the Polish Foodies Club for every top Polish dish because the recipe is very basic, but with the recipe, there are so many things that can go wrong or how you can replace certain like food. For example, in gołąbki, you can replace rice with cauliflower and you have keto gołąbki. So I want to, yeah, and the taste is really good, so you can do it.
I've never
So
heard of keto
that's my
gołąbki,
goal.
but I guess it makes sense. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice one. Well, PolishFoodies.com is the site. I'll put a link in the description below, of course. If you are into Polish cuisine at all, or do you think about getting into it as a beginner, maybe? Very accessible. If you are a little more advanced, maybe like a serious foodie type, and you're looking for something new and interesting, PolishFoodies.com is the place to start. The recipes are there, the links to all the social media where you can check out all the videos, all the descriptions, all the instructions, everything you need to take a deep, deep dive into Polish cuisine is there. Okay, so that's it for this time. Thanks again to Karolina for joining me. Again, polishfoodies.com. Check it out. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And while you're here, why not check out one of these other videos from Florida Man in Poland? Thanks again for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time.